Welcome to the channel, ladies and gents. I just react. First video I'm going to react to is a video from the Joy Reid show. She had a power panel on, consisted of 4 distinguished guests, in my opinion. She had Gary Chambers Jr. on, activist from the state of Louisiana. She had Justin J. Pearson on, a state representative running for Congress in Tennessee. She also had Ellie Missile on, a writer from The Nation. And whew, does he always never disappointed bringing the fire with Ellie Minstrel. And she also had on a young lady activist that's trying to get voter turnout up here in the state of Florida. So, I wanted to really see what she had to say as well. I haven't reacted to the video, and I said, why not react to the video with you guys? Please, guys, after the video is over, like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Just started the channel. Let's see how fast we can get this subscriber count up, guys. Let's go.
Joining now is Ellie Missile, justice correspondent at The Nation. His latest piece is entitled "The Supreme Court Has Completed Its Quest to Kill the Voting Rights Act." We're going to link to it in the description of this show. Also joining us is state
Is he gonna come with it, or is he gonna come with it? Let's see.
House member Justin Pearson, member of the Tennessee House of Representatives 86th District. He is running for Congress in what would have been Tennessee's 9th congressional district, which apparently will no longer exist, so there will be no
right now she's just doing the introductions of the people. Let's fast forward it a little bit. That's that last lady I was saying earlier. Her name is Jasmine Burney Clark. That's the young lady I was talking about from Florida, my home state. Let's go.
The same again, Gary Chambers Jr., advocate, thought leader, entrepreneur, and change agent. What a fantastic panel, a dream panel on this Friday. Thank you all for being here. I don't even know where to start first, so I'm just going to do what I would normally do on News Now and just go to Ellie. Ellie, go off.
The Voting Rights Act is the single most important piece of legislation in American history. It is the most effective piece of...
Whoa, did you hear Ellie? Did you hear that first sentence? Let me rewind that. That was very important.
Do what I would normally do on News Now and just go to Ellie. Ellie, go off.
The Voting Rights Act is the single most important piece of legislation in American history. It is the most effective piece of civil rights legislation in American history. Before the 1965 Voting Rights Act, this was an apartheid country. This was a country where people were living here, had no right and no ability to participate in the democratic self-government that the white folks did. After the 1965 Voting Rights Act, we didn't suddenly become post-racial utopia. No. There was still white supremacy, there was still racism. But the Voting Rights Act allowed, for the first time in American history, black people and brown people to have a chance at participation in democratic self-government. And boy, did we flood the zone with that chance. They opened a crack and we punched in the door. In 1964, there were 4 black representatives in Congress. In 1968, just after the passage of the act, that had doubled to 9. Today, there are 67 black people in Congress. There are 56 Latinos in Congress. The Voting Rights Act also had a...
Wow. So from 1964 to 1968, black representation doubled after the Voting Rights Act got passed. That lets you know that black people do want a lot of times black representation, but they just want good representation overall, in my opinion. But let's continue.
Huge impact on the representation of women in Congress. Before the Voting Rights Act, there were 13 women in Congress. Today, there are 157 women in Congress.
That's pretty good.
And the Republicans hate it. They've always hated it. They hate the idea of black and brown and female political power. And the Voting Rights Act is the thing that allows that power to happen, which is why the 6 Republicans on the Supreme Court killed it this week. And that is where we are.
That is where we are. State Representative Justin J. Pearson.
When I say he just breaks it down in like a minute or two less. Just breaks it down, cuts to the chase, makes it plain for you, easy to understand, precise. I love Ellie Mistel. All right, let's see what Justin's talking about.
You are running for the seat that apparently, according to your Republican colleagues, should not exist. Go off.
Yeah, look, this is racism being codified into legislation. We've been called back into session this upcoming Tuesday, and we're going to fight with everything that we possibly can because we're going to see the greatest dilution, not only black political power, but black representation, likely since we saw the retribution period in American history after Reconstruction. This is devastating to a community where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Was assassinated, where Ida B. Wells Barnett was fighting to end lynching against black people in the United States of America, and in the state where the Ku Klux Klan was actually founded, the vestiges of race.
Wow, guys, I did not know that the Ku Klux Klan was founded in the state of Tennessee. I didn't know that. As long as I've been alive, I know I probably should have known that, but just didn't know that. When I visited the Smoky Mountains, I would have never even thought that this state started such a brutal organization or brutal type of following. Anyways, let's go, Justin. Continue.
So the vestiges of bigotry continue to show up, and that's what we're being asked to endorse. That majority white maps are somehow okay for us, but to have one singular majority black district, to have one singular Democratic district in our state is wrong. And at this moment in time, where obviously I'm in the race for the U.S. Congress as a black representative, we know that this is very particularly and acutely targeted toward our community, toward our district.
And the person that's holding that seat right now isn't even black. So no.
No, he's not.
And so the reality is they're not even limiting it. They're saying that there should be no Democrats in the state of Tennessee in the United States Congress. So let's just be clear about that. Let's go to Florida. Jasmine Purdy Clark, thank you and welcome to the show. You're fighting for something that
now I'm very interested to hear what she has to say. Coming from my state, a lot of people talk a big game, but sometimes you got to hear the words that they use to see, are they just a swindler? Are they just a grifter? Are they really trying to get people turned out? Like Stacey Abrams did in Georgia. All right, just give her a shot.
For it my own way as a member of the media in Florida, and it was not easy. It's a very difficult state post-Obama to rouse the black electorate in Florida. They were there for Obama 2 times. After that, they pieced out. So it's you're up. Go off.
Florida is a difficult state. It is a hard state to work in, but it's a state worth fighting for. And I think it's worth fighting for because we are, sitting at a stage where we are at the second bite at the apple here under Governor DeSantis. Prior to the Calais case in 2022, Governor DeSantis cut black congressional representation in half by 50%, taking away elected representation for anyone who lived in the middle of the state, which is Orlando, up to the northern point of the state of Florida. So
I remember when they did redraw those maps and how that's why the Congress lady, that was my Congress lady when I first moved to Orlando, she was no longer my Congress lady after 2020 because when they redrew the maps, it made it impossible for her to essentially win re-election. So, anyways, that's true.
We've already seen what it looks like to have black representation just stripped from our hands. And this week, the governor submitted a brand new map 24 hours before the special session took place on Fox News, by the way. Submitted it to Fox before he submitted it to the state legislature, where he stripped away 4 of the 8 Democratic seats in the state of Florida. He caused a near chaos, if you will, not only amongst Democrats, but amongst his own party, who have been asking him not to do this, because not only is it unprecedented, it's illegal. Florida has the Fair Districts Amendment.
Wait a minute. Hold on. She said not only is it not right, but it's illegal. The map that he's redrawn. How is it illegal? I got to go back a little bit because that was some good stuff right there, guys. I got to play that back, guys.
He caused a near chaos, if you will, not only amongst Democrats, but amongst his own party, who have been asking him not to do this, because not only is it unprecedented, it's illegal. Florida has the Fair Districts Amendments, which means you cannot draw maps based on partisan, preference or based on race. And this governor has done both of those things. And at the foundation of democracy, the principle is self-governance, and the idea that people govern themselves and their consent and collective decision-making should obviously shape the laws, but that is not what is happening here in this state. And while this week's ruling obviously set a dangerous precedent and further eroded one of the most important civil rights protections in modern U.S. history, it is not a mandate for states like Florida to continue to strip voters of their rights. And
Absolutely.
that is what we're seeing under Governor Sanders' leadership. And in his final term, he certainly put the nail in the coffin by stripping away even more protections and rights by eliminating 4 of those 8 congressional Democratic seats in the state of Florida.
Gary Chambers, I believe all of these so-called leaders in these neo-Confederate states to be wicked. But your governor is a special kind of evil, in my personal opinion. He reversed some of the really great gains that Louisiana had begun to make in terms of being an incarcerated state. You say, he's like, no more of that. We're just going to throw people in prison again. And no one, I think, has fought harder than you to try to rouse Black voters in the great state of Louisiana to live up to their legacy.
Now, one thing I do know about Gary Chambers Jr., he loves his state. He tries very hard to educate his state on the importance of voting and, just try to get them civically engaged. So you gotta give props to this guy. So anytime he talking, I give him an ear. Let's see what he got to say.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the floor, good brother. Go ahead and go up.
Joy, one, I thank you for having the conversation. I think that those who thought that we were too extreme, we were too loud, we were too bombastic, when we were saying that these issues need to be addressed, when they decided that they would expel 2 Black men in Tennessee from their seat in the state legislature, we should have knew that we should have made Tennessee a priority. When they decided that they would sue us in the middle of this situation to get our congressional districts, where Louisiana only had 1 Black congressional district, though we make up a third of the state, that we had to sue to even get this seat. And in the first term that it exists, you're suing to take it away. But if you had been paying attention to Louisiana before, the architects of Project 2025 did his dissertation on Reconstruction and slavery in Louisiana. So this is the blueprint. This is ground zero. You have number 1 in the House and number 2 in the House of Louisiana. And there's no serious investment coming to this state to unseat it. And so the question I have for the Democratic Party, for the CBC, is what you gonna do now? Are you ready to get down to the Deep South and expose the bigots in the Tennessee legislature, expose the bigots in the Louisiana legislature, expose the bigots in the Florida legislature, so that the people know who can put the hell out of office? Because the only way that we win now is to take back control of state government. Florida has a governor's race up. Tennessee has a governor's race up. Louisiana has a governor's race up next year. If it's the fight you want, then you got one. Let's go.
Amen to that. We beat the Confederates the first time, Ellie. It's very clear they can be beaten. But I want to zero in on the Democrats there, because the question of what do we do now, part of it runs through the fact we know Republicans control both houses of Congress. But number 2 in the House, the person that Gary was talking about, he calls himself David Duke without the baggage. They're not even hiding who they are. He called himself.
What? If I'm not mistaken, that congressman is Steve Scalise from Louisiana that said that. I think that's who she's talking about. Mask off.
I didn't call him David Duke without the baggage. He called himself David Duke without the baggage, Steve Scalise. So that's what we're dealing with on that side. What are we dealing with on the Democratic side, and what can they do?
Yeah, so let's talk about why you and I are not on MS Now just at the moment, right? Dick Durbin, you started your segment with Dick Durbin, who's like, oh, look at these maps that we're going to... Yes, Dick!
I had to say this. it seems like he's gonna hold to account the Democrats when they were in power, and this is what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna stay harping on the Democrats and oh my God, but at the end of the day, speak the truth. You know, they had power at one time, and they didn't prioritize, in my opinion, what they needed to prioritize. And let's see if Ellie feels the same. Got a feeling that he does. Let's see.
Yeah, so let's talk about why you and I are not on MS Now just at the moment, right? Dick Durbin, you started your segment with Dick Durbin, who's like, oh, look at these maps that we're going to... Yes, Dick, that is what they've always been promising. So in 2021, when you have the House, the Senate, and the White House, and people were begging you to kill the filibuster and pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, what did you think we were complaining about? What did you think we were screaming about? We were screaming about stopping this from happening. When I'm talking about expanding the Supreme Court and adding pro-democracy justices to undercut the 6-3 conservative supermajority, why do you think I'm making that argument? Why do you think that I'm up your ass with that argument? It's to stop things like what we saw on Wednesday. It's to stop everything that we're talking about on this panel. That the time to stop that was...
I just want to say, Ellie be going off, but he's so professional with it. Love it. Carry on, Ellie.
2021, when Biden took office and the Democrats had both houses, and they did nothing to stop this. And now, in the words of Al Gore, we are living in a time of consequences. So what do we do going forward? We have to work extremely hard to get back in 2029 to where we were in 2021. And if by miracles, if by blood, sweat, and tears from people on the ground, from black folks, brown folks, women folks on the ground, if there's some miracle, we get back in 2029 to where we were in 2021 with control of the White House and both houses of Congress, we have to pass legislation. We have to do what we should have done. We have to restore the Voting Rights Act. We have to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that would not just take back what the court did on Wednesday in Calais, but also take back what they did in Brnovich, which eliminated the ability of individuals to sue for civil rights violations under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, and to take back what John Roberts did and Shelby County v. Holder and bring back pre-clearance and restore the voting, just the voting fairness in this country. That would be job number one. Job number two is to expand the Supreme Court, because even at this point, if you pass something like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the conservatives on the Supreme Court have made it very clear they will just strike that down before breakfast. They don't care. If you read the decision, don't forget, Thomas and Gorsuch wrote a concurrence. You know, Clarence, sometime it be your own people, Thomas. Neil Gorsuch wrote a concurrence saying they would dissolve the Voting Rights Act outright. Why are we even pussyfooting around here? They would just get rid of the Voting Rights Act outright. So if we're going to pass, so first we have to pass legislation, and then we have to pack the court with enough people who will uphold the legislation. And I've been saying that since 2021. I've been saying that since before 2021. Hopefully in 2029, I don't know, people will get it. People like Dick Durbin will be there. And
thank God.
Will get it. But the only way forward is through at this point, because the Democrats did not do enough to prevent this from happening when they had the very small chance to stop this from happening.
But Representative Pearson, what is the gentleman, Representative Cohen, saying that he's going to do right now?
He isn't saying he's going to do anything. He's doing what he always does, which is send a press release and a statement and maybe show up to a press conference.
This guy seems pretty bright, man. He's running for that congressional seat that basically, from what I've read, is basically going to be gerrymandered to where that will no longer be the same district. So it's going to be an uphill battle for him to get into Congress. But I just like to hear what he has to say, man. He's pretty sharp.
We're going to organize. We're going to mobilize. We're going to activate our community. I'm working right now to plan a march from Memphis to Nashville over the weekend, and we need folks to go to dividistrict9.com, sign our petition to the House and Senate and the governor, demanding that we do not have racist maps that preserve our district and preserve our right to participate in this democracy. And to the point, Democrats who've been in Congress this whole time, the Democrats were in power most recently and before, they dropped the ball. They missed the opportunity to actually protect our democracy because
They did.
They were comfortable with the seats that they were in and the money that they were getting from lobbyists and corporate banks.
There you go.
To preserve our constitutional rights.
He ain't lying with that comment.
So we're going to fight literally for our lives, waking up in a country where we have fewer rights than we did and our ancestors did in 1964. This is a scary time, but I can't pretend anymore. We have to activate, we have to work, we have to mobilize. And that's what we're doing, and that's what leadership from to Congress will do in this race too.
Jasmine, in your state, Byron Donalds is getting Donald Trump.
Now, I want her to expand on the state of Florida. That's part of the reason why I'm so interested in this particular video as well, and I wanted to react to it with you guys. So she looks like she's going to give some more details about the state of Florida and maybe some elections. Seems like Joy's talking about Byron Donald. So see what she's saying, see what she's going to line up for the young lady from Florida.
For his handling of the economy, so I presume he has no problem. He's Junior Clarence Thomas. I'm sure he's fine with this. And all four, by the way, Black Republicans are out. They're all running for other offices. There are going to be 0 Black Republicans anyway of their own volition. So for you, is Byron Donald's seat something that your PAC is going to be focusing on trying to flip? Like, what is the breadth of what you all are trying to do? Are you going to try to salvage the seats that are there, to try to win whatever is left? Or are you going to go after the seats like the ones that he is vacating in Florida to run for governor?
I think it's a priority to focus on all fronts in the state of Florida at this particular juncture. The fact that the Democratic Party has divested from Florida, the National Democratic Party has divested from Florida nearly 300% since the 2020 presidential election. We saw a $50 million budget and investment in the state of Florida compared to a $5 million investment in Florida when the Kamala Harris campaign was set up here in the state. That's a significant divestment, which means we are on our own. And so, yes, it is looking at what Byron Donald's seat or what the Republican Democratic apparatus Republican and Democratic apparatus looks like in the state of Florida for the gubernatorial election. But it also means looking at all of the seats down the entire ballot. We cannot just singularly point to one specific seat and prioritize that. We have to look at the entire ballot. My main concern, however, is when Democrats get power, will we know what to do with it and will we know how to use it? What will we do? What will we prioritize? And what will we make sure is a significant change for the Floridians here in the state of Florida? Specifically, what will be material changes for people in this state when they have been down bad for so long under this particular administration?
27 years to be exact. Jeb Bush took office, I believe, January 1999. And we've been under this BS here in the state of Florida ever since. Let me let her finish.
Where Governor DeSantis has passed voter suppression laws every single year since he has been elected. We have not seen anything different, and we have not seen any safety net coming from the Democratic Party, both nationally or in state. There is also not a plan here in the state of Florida. So it's on Black voters, it's on brown voters, it's on youth in this state to come together and figure out what it is that we want to prioritize and how we also do that together. And our organization works primarily with Black and brown people across the state of Florida. That 150 people you saw in the Florida legislature are the folks that we put on buses at 3 a.m. in the morning and brought them into the Florida Capitol because they wanted to ensure that their names were on the record, that their stories were on the record, that they could look their legislators in the face and tell them that this was not right. And that's what we're going to continue to do. We've been taking folks to the legislature for the past 5 years, and we will not stop doing that at the state, at the county level, or the city level either. And it's really about the grassroots work now again, because we are on our own.
Yeah, Gary, if Florida voters are demoralized, Louisiana voters, you do this on your Instagram. Like, I follow like every other day. It feels like you're posting the low turnout, the sort of exhaustion factor. People just don't turn out most of the time. What can be done about that? Because the only way to pay these people back is to vote out these people. Like, Landry's up next year. Is there going to be enough energy in Louisiana to put a Democrat in there? And what kind of Democrat? What is the state of the Democratic Party in Louisiana? Doesn't seem like it's that great.
The state of the Democratic Party in Louisiana is broke. So if the country wants to do something right now for Louisiana, you can fund the Democratic Party, you can fund Power Coalition, you can fund Voices of the Experience. There are people and organizations I'm going to go out this summer and do my Cities for the People summer sessions so that we can engage people around the state. Right now, there's an election that early voting starts on tomorrow in Louisiana. The governor has 5 constitutional amendments on the ballot. We should try to do everything we can to turn out every black voter in Louisiana to kill his 5 constitutional amendments. If people from around the country want to talk, tell everybody in Louisiana right now to show up starting tomorrow and vote the governor's constitutional amendments down so that you can give him a message that you can do what you want to down there, but today's are numbered.
One thing I like about Gary Chambers, he be doing the numbers. He be spitting out numbers. I wonder if he gonna do that this time around, but he be spitting out numbers as the show.
Mississippi right now.
Yeah, they got a backup.
Can be beat, and there 38% of that state is black. You have black folks that are in, so if 38% of the state is black, and if you invest the dollars there the way that you did in Wisconsin, where you didn't win, the way that you did in Pennsylvania,
when you didn't win,
yep. Higher probability of getting black people, where black men vote for you over 80% and black women vote for you over 90%, to get a higher yield out of the investment that you put there, and then you only need 15 to 20% of sensible, forward-thinking white people to join you in order to take the state legislature in Mississippi and get the veto power to be able to minimize the impact of some of the things that these people intend to do. They have played the states' rights game far better than we have.
Yes, they have.
Biting us in the ass because we sit here playing this national game every day, acting like what is happening in these states is not going to crawl out of the states into our national politics. Now,
yes.
If you're in Louisiana long enough and it's bit you in the ass, are you going to let it cut your head off before you do something about it?
I mean, they're talking about taking Clyburn's seat. They're taking your leader's seats away, y'all. They're going to take your own seats. So, in a lot of these states, there's the one member in Mississippi.
Gary want to say something else.
I can't stop this conversation right now. It's too important. Representative Pearson, have you gotten any national calls? Is national money calling you?
We've been able to do some fundraising, but truly we need more to the point of the resources. We haven't invested in the South, and that is part of the problem. We haven't built infrastructure, and when you don't invest
absolutely.
In the state house, the state senate, you don't invest in county commission, you don't invest at city council level. I mean, literally, what it takes to run a gubernatorial race in Mississippi is probably what it takes to run one California congressional race. We just do not get the same resources because we aren't located in the right places. But as your map showed earlier, 50% of black people live in the South.
Yes.
Significant demographic and voting bloc for Democrats
is in the South.
In the South, right? This is what changed ultimately Joe Biden's ability to win the presidency of the United States. What happened in South Carolina with the black voters? We have not received the investments, the care, the concern, and the infrastructure that's necessary at every level of government. And so people opt out. If you only show up during presidential elections, people opt out. And now you're saying with these maps, where is that being passed by the U.S. Congress? No, that's being passed at the state house. Those are state senators. Those are state house representative members that are making these decisions. And we haven't made the necessary investments over the long term.
Yeah, I just add, remember with these maps, because part of what they're doing.
I'm gonna let Ellie go, but that young guy, he's pretty articulate, man. He's hopefully he has the articulation, like in Obama, but hopefully he has the follow through and he has the ideology of, more of a progressive mindset, because looks like he will go places, in my opinion, before it's all said and done. He'll climb up the ladder. All right, Ellie had something to say. She was going to Ellie. Let's finish reacting.
Senators, those are state house representative members that are making these decisions, and we haven't made the necessary investments over the long term.
Yeah, I just add, remember with these maps, because part of what they're doing with these maps is that they're trying to take your heart. They're trying to make you feel like there's no chance. Remember that all of these maps are based on a mathematical determination of what turnout is going to be like.
Wait, what, Ellie?
You can break any one of these gerrymanders with overwhelming turnout. They expect a certain number of people to show up.
Say it again. Wait, hold on, Ellie.
Yeah, I gotta hear that again.
They expected.
Hold on, I'm rewinding you, Ellie. I need you to say that again. If that sounds so good, I need you to say it again. Repeat it, say it again.
The gerrymanders are based on a mathematical determination of who is going to show up. And so you can defeat each and every one of these gerrymanders if you have overwhelming turnout. If they don't think that you're going to vote and then you show up and vote,
you know something?
That messes up their math, right?
Wow. I mean, that's a cheat code, really. That's why I say no matter what you vote, no matter what you turn out, no matter what they are trying to do, you might not know it. It might be some people in that particular congressional district didn't vote the way that they anticipated them to vote, or more people came out to vote that they didn't anticipate to vote. Man, that's a good cheat code. I didn't really think about that. I didn't really look at it from that perspective, but I'm gonna let Ellie continue on because he putting us up on game. Let's continue.
Math doesn't math if you have overwhelming turnout. People who looked at the Texas map. Texas's map, Latinos vote about 60% for the Democratic Party. If Latinos show up in Texas and vote 80% for the Democratic Party, if Latinos show up in Texas and vote for Democrats the way Black people vote for Democrats, Texas is blue, baby. Like Texas is blue overnight, baby. And that's true for every state in the South. You can break these districts if you show up to vote. So don't let the red veil take your heart away. Don't let them make you feel like it's hopeless, like there's no point.
Good to know.
All of those maps
Good to know.
With lines around the block.
Excuse me.
I really need you to talk about Florida. I worked in Florida campaign.
Yeah, please talk about Florida.
Suddenly in 08, a black man named Barack Hussein Obama.
Very true.
That state. He didn't want it again in 2012. And black people were the turnout difference. Please talk about Florida because I think the whole Democratic Party has given up on Florida. Make the case why they should be spending money with your organization, with Black Voters Matter, with other organizations that can get Florida back.
Here's what we saw this week. We saw the entire nation look at Florida as an example of what could be possible if we were able to defeat a map, if we were able to turn away Governor DeSantis from being able to obtain 4 seats, then we could declare victory and help the rest of the nation. But we can't declare victory in a state where there has not been an investment. We cannot declare victory in a state where we have been abandoned, and there is an expectation that poof, suddenly we will be able to create something out of nothing. Now, don't get me wrong. Black folks have been doing that for a very long time, and Black folks in this state are tired. Their labor is not free, and their votes are not free. They need the serious investment, but they also need a leader that they can believe in. They also need a party that they can trust in. They also need a party that they can actively participate in.
Absolutely.
That's just not a real thing. This state party both have abandoned Black and brown voters, and we are seeing that consistently election after election. If there is
you don't hear nobody coming up to your door. You don't in 08 and 012.
You don't go to work if you don't get a paycheck.
They were all over the place trying to make sure you voted in Florida.
That this year's election is going to be interesting when it comes to the gubernatorial race because 2 Black men are vying to be governor in the state of Florida. You have Ron DeSantis, you have Byron Donalds as a Republican, and you have Jerry Demings as the Democrat. Now, we both know the saying, all skin folk are kinfolk. And so
all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
On the ends of each of the spectrum. But in a state where Black diversity is being banned, DEI is being banned, where books were being banned just a few months ago or years ago, now all of a sudden we have a gubernatorial election where a Black man could be ruling the state. And that brings me deep concern because I don't know if Black folks have voter education information they need to decipher between a Black face and white policies.
I will say that's what I am worried about when it comes to this gubernatorial race in Florida. Exactly what she said. They're going to see 2 Black candidates up there, and they're going to say, it don't matter. A Black dude going to win anyways. Not understanding the significance of the difference of the ideologies that those two particular candidates have. So she's speaking facts on that. I think she's about to finish up. Let's see.
And by the way, Kerry Jennings is a sheriff, and if it goes down like Val Jennings, his wife, who ran.
He was a sheriff, Joy. I just wanted to say he was the sheriff. He was a sheriff until 2018. Then he was elected Orange County mayor for not one but 2 terms. Yeah, from what I've seen since I've been in Central Florida, Jerry Demings has never lost an election in which his name was on the ballot. So hopefully he can keep that going. But let's let them finish.
The United States Senate instead of governor, which I think she should have run for. Black folks were dismissing her because she's a cop. I want y'all to understand. You can say Jerry Demings is a cop, but he's a cop who cares about civil rights. The other one is Byron Donalds, who has decided to make himself the House pet of the Republican Party.
Sure has.
And then pat him on the head in the United States House of
Yep.
Representatives and gave Donald Trump an A+ for his running of the economy. There's 2 black people. This is the Georgia situation again, where people were certain that Herschel Walker, because he's a legendary football player, was going to win in Georgia. Georgia was red until it wasn't. Georgia, it was impossible for Democrats to win statewide until it wasn't.
Boom.
It was suddenly possible. And then suddenly they have 2 Democratic senators.
Boom.
Every state that is red is just a purple state that shifts one way or the other. All these states are purple. I'm going to give you the last word on this, Gary Chambers Jr., because I'm literally saying the stuff you say all the time. But I just might as well let you say it. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I got here. What you talking about? What you talking about, Gary?
The answer for us now is that if there is a Calvary to come, now's the time. I think that this is the most consequential moment in my lifetime. I'm 40 years old. I have not seen anything to this magnitude that will impact not just black people, but Hispanic people. It will impact white people eventually as well, because the people who are down there fighting for your investments to stay, the people who are actually down there fighting for your WIC, for your SNAP benefits, for your housing assistance, that is not the Jeff Landrys of the world or the Jeff Clandrys of the world.
Y'all see how he threw in that dig? Jeff Landry, which is his real name, that he said Jeff Clandry. Good old Gary Chambers. Gotta love him.
Who are putting the work restrictions on you to make it harder for you to be able to get assistance when you're already struggling. And so if you think that is hard, it's going to get harder now. But the way that we stop this is to show up and fight back today. If there ever was a time for us to fight, it is now. If I'm a member of the CBC, I'm quantifying how much in appropriations do the members of the CBC spend in each community, each legislative session, and give a dollar amount about what is going to change from your community when white Republican rule ends up making the decision about where those government appropriations go. When it's not your people in there, even if we don't agree on everything, if I pick the one that goes, I know that my interests are at least being protected. There's nobody that's going to protect our interests better than us. So it's time we stand the hell up and fight for the ability to continue to protect our interests.
Well, damn. Well, damn. Man, that was a good conversation. That was a great panel, in my opinion. I mean, Ellie Mistel, wow. Wow. Brought the fire. Justin Pearson being the articulate, ever so professional representative that's, I think, just gonna, go far in politics. You got Jasmine Bernie Clark here in Florida. Like she says, we just got to kind of do it on our own. We got to figure out a way to try to get people galvanized and get voter turnout up. And it would help for, them to invest in the state of Florida, from what all I've ever heard. Gary Chambers Jr. Come on, you got Gary Chambers Jr. on the panel. You know he gonna bring the fire. You know he gonna bring the funk. You know he gonna do all of that stuff. So, through and through, I enjoyed the discussion. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care.